feel like one thing we all could use more of is more storage. I mean, if you look at phones, if you look at laptops, one of the main criticisms or one of the main points is that, it could use a lot more storage than it comes with. And well, that goes for anything, especially for someone like me who does video production for a living. I have a lot of files that I need to keep organized, and for a long time now, one of the best ways to do that is with something called a NAS, which is a network attached storage. And so basically it's a bunch of hard drives that you connect to your network that you can really access from anywhere. Now, UGREEN reached out and asked to sponsor this video and send over the NASync DXP4800 Plus, and the NASync line is kind of UGREEN's latest foray into storage. Now, you've probably heard of UGREEN before. Here in the US, they've been selling, different chargers and mobile accessories for quite a while now. They're quite good. Maybe, storage devices aren't the first thing to come to mind, but they are, full steam ahead at launching the NASync system of devices. So the 4800 Plus is the 4 system one that I'll be talking about today, but they have a bunch of different solutions for, different storage amounts that you might need. So this one has 4 bays, but they have ones with many more than that. So you can check that out in the link below. But the DXP 4800 Plus, I think, is the best, starting points for anyone who needs a NAS or wants to jump into this. There's been a few different companies in the market for a while now that have been making NAS solutions like this, but we haven't really seen anything new in a long time. So it's nice that UGREEN is jumping into this. Now, what's great about this is how easy to make the DXP 4800 Plus your kind of home server that you can share with anyone, friends and family, or you're just yourself. You can share it over your local network so you don't have to be plugged into it. And if you're on the go somewhere else and you need files from that drive, you don't have to worry about that. As long as it's connected to the internet, you can access it. And that's one of the great things about a NAS solution like this. Now, basically, for this to work, it's essentially a little computer that has a processor, it's got RAM, it's got storage, obviously. So all of that is how this works. And because of that, you're able to upgrade and change the storage and components of the NAS system. And UGREEN makes all of this very easy. So up front, you've got 4 bays for your personal storage. So this is where you're going to store your files, your movies, your photos, anything that you personally want to have. These are the drives you're going to be storing them in. So this has 4, and it can support up to 96 terabytes of storage across these 4. And when you're in the software, you can set this up however you'd like in different RAID configurations. So that's, if you're using this as backup, you can make sure that there's redundancy and you're not going to lose any data, or you just use them straight as they are. But you have the option there. But there's also 2 slots for an NVMe SSD built in, so you can add those to either add to the cache of the whole system, which will make it faster to use, or you can just use them as extra storage. And in this area, there's also the 8 gigabytes of included memory, and this can be upgraded to 64 gigabytes, again, to make your system just run faster and smoother. Now, running the whole show here is a 12th gen Intel Pentium Gold processor with 5 cores and 6 threads. So, processing speed and everything that goes on with the processing and data of the actual, NAS system, you shouldn't have an issue there. It is plenty fast when actually using it. And for the most part, you can upgrade a lot of it to make it even faster. Now, that's kind of all the hardware that's built in, but then you also need to use it, and that's where the ports and the software come in. Now, on the port side, there's a ton here. On the back, there are 2 Ethernet ports here. One is a 10 gigabit port, and the other is a 2.5 gigabit port. And if you're using those SSDs, like I mentioned, that will make the system faster, you can download at up to 1250 megabytes per second. So super fast data transfers with that 10 gigabit port. And that also means that if I have 10 gigabit, networking set up wherever the NAS is set up, I can access it remotely, but use almost real-time speed as if it was plugged in right to my computer. So I could do that all over the network without needing to plug directly in, which is where that really comes in handy. Now back here, you also get some USB ports, and you get an HDMI port that supports, plugging this directly in so you can stream content and media from the device itself. So that's pretty cool and something you don't see on many NAS solutions. Now for me, what I really like is when you go to the front of the device, because here you have a USB-A port and you have a USB-C port. Now in some of the other NASync devices, this actually supports Thunderbolt 4, so you'd get super fast transfer speeds. This one, the DXP 4800 Plus, doesn't have Thunderbolt support, but you could still use these ports to, add extra storage. So for instance, I have a drive here, and if I wanted to just offload directly to the NAS instead of going through a computer, I could do that and plug it in right there. But even better, and I think more practical, is if I wanted to connect another drive to it and use it kind of as external storage that I could still access over the network, I could do that through the USB port, and that comes in handy. And similarly, next to that, there is an SD card reader. So if I wanted to dump footage or pictures or anything like that directly to the device without first having to import them to my computer and then go to the NAS, if I just basically wanted a backup system, you can do that right from the hardware. So I think on the hardware front, the NASync 4800 Plus is kind of delivering everything you'd want in one of these smaller NAS storage solutions. It has pretty much everything. But then to actually use it, of course, you need the software. Now, UGREEN offers an app that you can download to your computer that's kind of gives you everything you need. You don't need to download multiple apps. It's all built into one place. Or you can use the web interface, which is exactly the same thing. It's just built into the web, so you'd access it through the browser. I prefer using the app. But here, when you open it up, it looks like a traditional, user interface system. You have apps, you have icons, and you can open them up and configure this device in a multitude of different ways. Now, one nice thing about having an interface and software like this is that it can help you do more. And, if you have a hard drive that you store backups on, that's great, but that's just a kind of dumb device. You have to do all the organization, you have to do everything yourself. And because UGREEN has software built in, they can kind of help you with that. So for instance, there is an AI built in for your photos that's on the device locally without having to go and, access the server. It can do smart recognition and classification of what is in your photos. So, you can dump all your photos to the NAS for storage. And later when you need to go find something, you can type what's in the image and it should be able to help you find that much quicker and much easier. And this works for things like places, people, animals, different objects. So, it's using AI to do that recognition. Same thing you've probably seen on your phone, but this is built into the storage device. So that's really nice. And again, this is all happening on the device itself. And because this is something that is sitting in my house on my network, that means it's safer in theory than something that would be in the cloud that I have really no access to. And UGREEN builds in tools in the Security Manager app to scan for viruses and make sure that everything happening on there is what you actually want. So yeah, this is basically your personal cloud that is not in the cloud. It is sitting in your home. You can store all your files, your video, your photos, and you have access to them however you want. And you have a lot of storage to do that with. So if you want to check this out or pick one up for yourself right now is a great time to do it. There's discounts going on that are linked down below in the description. So be sure to go check those out. I'm glad that UGREEN is, jumping into this market and bringing some products that I think needed some more competition. So I'm glad this exists.